Welcome to our channel. This is Attorney Louis Liu. Today I will be discussing with you how does a hedge fund work. So first off, what is a hedge fund? There's no strict definition legally speaking as to what is a hedge fund. So why is it called a hedge fund? It is supposed to hedge its investments against losses by using tools such as options. For example, a hedge fund may have a large position in the shares of Tesla. And the managers may be concerned that the price of Tesla shares may go down. So the managers may buy what are called put options to hedge against losses. And put options are essentially contracts that will give the right to the hedge fund to sell the shares here, Tesla, during a specific period of time, for example, in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 2 years, at a specific price, such that if the price of Tesla goes down, the hedge fund could put the shares to the buyer, to the seller of the put option, and at the price that was predetermined, maybe today's price or price that is not too low from today's price. Hedge funds are generally private investment vehicles. They are not accessible to the general public. So that's different than mutual fund or exchange traded funds. So only accredited investors, generally speaking, can directly put money into a hedge fund. So there is a separate definition for what is accredited investor. Generally speaking, those are individuals who have net worth excluding their own primary residence of over $1 million and with annual income exceeding certain amount. And there are other kind of different criteria for institutions, corporations. And as a matter of customary practice, hedge fund generally trades on public traded securities, but that's not a legal requirement. So how does a hedge fund work legally in terms of the rights and obligations between the managers on one side and the investors on the other side, right? It's structured usually as a limited partnership. In that aspect, it's the same as private equity fund. So the nature of a general partnership is that the general partner essentially makes all of the governance and operational decisions of the limited partnership, and the limited partners don't actually participate in the governance and operation of the partnership. And in the context of a hedge fund, it works in this way. The fund managers, they are going to set up a limited liability company that will act as a general partner for the partnership. And through that limited liability company, they are going to make all of the decisions. So the fund managers get to buy and sell securities. Of course, within the confinement of the limited partnership agreement. If the limited partnership agreement says you cannot buy and sell that, then you cannot do that, because that's just, what everybody has agreed to. That's just a matter of, contract. And so the limited liability company that acts as the general partner for the fund is where the fund managers individually, if there are more than one fund managers, and that's where they are going to decide how to split the money they earn from the hedge fund and their authorities and responsibilities vis-a-vis each other. So some investors prefer that their hedge fund managers put money into the same fund that they invest in. But that's not a legal requirement. So as a matter of law, limited partners may contribute or all of the billions of money into the hedge fund, but they don't get to have any meaningful say in a hedge fund. And limited partners, meaning the investor of a hedge fund, generally speaking, can redeem their equity interest in a hedge fund periodically. And what does that mean? That means usually once a quarter or once a year, an investor of hedge fund gets to exercise the right, if they choose to do so, right, to essentially get out of the hedge fund and ask the manager to give me my money back, and together with any kind of gains and losses associated with my proportionate interest in the entire hedge fund. And a hedge fund could generally honor that kind of requests because hedge fund, again, traded on liquid assets, public traded shares usually, so that the hedge fund could just, sell some positions in the fund and then use the cash from there to pay an investor. So it's kind of a, relatively speaking, straightforward redemption process. So the managers through the limited liability company, which is a general partner of the partnership, again, retain a portion of the profit of the hedge fund. And that could be 15%, that could be 20%, that could be 10%. It's negotiated, right? That's what is called carried interest, or for short, carry. Carry, as of today, is still taxed as capital gain. And a lot of people don't think that's fair because hedge fund managers are, using their professional skills as investors, essentially, right? To have made that kind of income. It's just like, a doctor or a lawyer practices their respective trades and professions, and whatever income they make from there is subject to ordinary income tax. So that's why people think carry should be taxed as ordinary income, and at least a lot of people do. And in addition to the carry, the managers also usually collect a management fee from each investor based upon usually a percentage of the asset under management or original amount of investment from each investor. And again, this is to a large extent sort of the result of bargaining, meaning limited partners can negotiate a separate side letter agreement aside from the limited partnership agreement for additional, for example, informational rights, or different carry percentage, or different management fee amounts with the hedge fund. So what are the differences between a private equity fund and a hedge fund? Legally speaking, really not a lot. But practically speaking, because private equity funds tend to invest in non-public traded securities. So you can expect a lot of practical implications of that. So the assets in the portfolio of a private equity fund tend to be more illiquid because they are not public traded securities, they are private equities. So a private equity fund usually will need to lock in the capital from the investors for 5, 6, 7, or even 12 years instead of allowing for periodical redemption in that a hedge fund could accommodate. Why? Because you expect a private equity investment to take a long time to bear fruits. So whether you invest in a venture capital fund, which is just one kind of private equity fund, right? In the case of venture capital fund, it may take 5 to 7 years for the target company to grow to a certain size. And after that, the target company may go to an IPO or maybe acquired by a strategic buyer. And only after that, the private equity fund could get to see the cash and distribute the cash back to its investor. That's why it could not allow for periodical redemption by its shareholders, by its investors. And there are also going to be more complicated waterfall provisions in a limited partnership agreement. In the case of hedge fund, right, as I explained a minute ago, you just have the hedge fund sell some of its positions to produce the cash, and then to honor the redemption request of an investor, and then the investor will be, be gone, and it's very straightforward, clean sort of separation. But in the case of a private equity fund, you may have things such as clawback that you have to bake into the limited partnership agreement. So what is clawback? Clawback is essentially the limited partner's right to reclaim part of general partner's carry interest in case subsequent losses no longer justify the compensation of the general partner. For example, you may have the exit for portfolio company one, and that give the general partner, which is the hedge fund, the private equity fund manager, a huge payday, a huge carry payout, right? But later on, every other investment goes south, and or even and so the limited partner will have to crawl back from the general partner whatever carry interest the general partner received from the first exit. So there's this Masterfeed structure, but that's not just something special for the hedge fund industry. A private equity fund could and usually does use the same structure. So what is a Masterfeed structure? Masterfeed fund structure is really a product of United States federal tax law. So you usually will have one master fund. For example, you have $10 million. $6 million are from investors who are U.S. tax residents. $4 million are from investors who are not U.S. tax residents. So you put $6 million into a Delaware limited partnership, and that's Delaware feeder fund, and then $4 million into a Cayman feeder fund for people who are not U.S. tax residents. And then you have a master fund, which is could be a Cayman master fund. And that master fund goes out, say, buy 10 shares of Tesla. It will allocate 6 shares to the Delaware feeder fund and 4 shares to the Cayman feeder fund. The whole way of doing this is because of U.S. tax law, in that the U.S. tax law now will treat an investor who is non-U.S. tax resident, who invests in Tesla through 2 layers. First layer, the Cayman feeder fund. The second layer, Cayman master fund, as exempt from withholding requirements of United States tax law. Such that investor also, as a matter of fact, profit from the capital gains of Tesla shares going up in price, right? But would not require that person to pay United States income tax. The theory is that that person has no meaningful sort of a nexus with Tesla. It's a shareholder of a Cayman feeder, which is managed by another Cayman master, but in fact it's managed probably by a fund manager sitting on Fifth Avenue in New York City. So it's kind of artificial. And so the two feeders generally mirror each other in economic terms and also legal arrangements to the extent Cayman and Delaware law could be sort of mirrored. So this is today's topic. If you're enjoying our video, you are welcome to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.